welcome to the channel. This is my first video. And to start things right off, I am going to be doing a reading for you for the month of November. I know we've still got a little bit until November, but I thought I would go ahead and do this now, and also with the advice of a friend who agreed, just so that hopefully more people have the time to find this video before November actually comes. So here I have 3 piles of cards, each with a corresponding stone. Also at the top here I have smoky quartz, a 3-eyed onyx raven, and a fluorite D8. I know there's a word for that shape, but I'm forgetting it. Octahedron? At any rate, there are 3 piles here, as I said, each with a stone. There is fluorite, blue aventurine, and rose quartz. I will read all of these stacks separately throughout the video. There will be timestamps available in the description, so you can skip to the one that you have selected. But if you have never done this before, essentially how it works is you choose one of these stones, one of these stacks, and then I will, as I said, I will read all of them, and you can look at the one that you chose, and that will tell you how your November will go, hopefully. So, let's see, as a quick review, not a review because I never mentioned it in the first place, just the decks that I'm using. I am using the Crow Tarot deck by MJ Cullinane, which is wonderful. I'm using Professor Pam's Urban Divination deck, also wonderful. These are all wonderful. I am also using Professor Pam's Collected Memories deck. And lastly, I am using the mini Tarot of Pagan Cats. So, I will give you a moment to reflect on which of these you would like to select, to keep an eye on. So feel free to meditate on that, or just think about it. If by the time I start again you are still undecided, feel free to pause the video. Alright, I will begin with pile 1. This will be 1, 2, and 3. I will go in that order. Fluorite, blue aventurine, and rose quartz last but not least. Shall we get started? Alright, first off is fluorite. We will set that aside. Fluorite, how many cards are in this stack? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cards in this stack. Assuming I can count properly, which I think I can. First, from the Tarot of Pagan Cats, we have the reversed 10 of Wands, sort of far away and sort of small. Next, also from the Tarot of Pagan Cats, we have the Four of Swords. In the middle, there is, from Collected Memories, Professor Pam's Collected Memories deck, Photos, reversed. From Professor Pam's Urban Divination deck, A Suspicious Puddle. And from the Crow Tarot, the Page of Pentacles. Taking a look at this, starting from the direction I started in when I was turning them over, that is to start with the inverse Ten of Wands, I would say well, the Ten of Wands upright would typically symbolize carrying a large burden, or many burdens, perhaps unnecessary or unaided, when you are supposed to be being helped. Which at the same time is noble and unfortunate. Reversed, I'm not totally certain how this will play a part in this whole conversation, so let's come back to that once we have looked at some of the others. Next, we have the upright Four of Swords. The Four of Swords would generally refer to taking a break. The card implies that you have been plagued with problems, and you are very stressed and burdened by all of these issues. The Four of Swords, you are taking a well-deserved break from all of these troubles. It is not a lazy card. It is a taking care of yourself card. It is a giving yourself a pat on the back card. So with the inverse Ten of Wands, I think that card makes a little more sense along with the Four of Swords. Because the Four of Swords is about taking a rest from what you have been working on, and inverse Ten of Wands would involve not carrying burden, or the burdens of others who are not going to help you carry them. Photos in the Collected Memories set. This one is interesting. Professor Pam's, I don't typically acknowledge reverses in Professor Pam's cards. Well, certainly not in the Urban Divination deck, because those cards are all square, so that wouldn't work, because sometimes they come out sideways. But the Collected Memories set is very personal to both the reader and the seeker, the question asker. So really, how you read the Collected Memories cards depends entirely on your experience. The Photos card is supposed to mean sentimentality, perhaps a nostalgia factor. Reversed like this, I do feel like this is intended to be read reversed, so that's how I'm going to read it. Focusing on the now. Focusing on the now, not in necessarily an unhealthy way. What I mean by that is you are not abandoning the lessons of the past. You are simply not caught up in the past either. You're not always, to put it in a metaphorical term that corresponds to the card, you are not always looking at your old pictures. You are taking new ones. You are making new memories, not just living in the memories of older, supposedly better times. So far we have seen a lot of taking care of yourself. Now, to continue, we have a suspicious puddle. A suspicious puddle, number 22 in this deck. A suspicious puddle is uneasiness. Proceed with caution. So, looking at this, but it's skewed. And I can't help wondering if that means anything. I know I said earlier how I feel about reverses on these square cards, but I also did say that with the Professor Pam cards, a lot of it is up to how you are feeling like you ought, how you are feeling that you are supposed to interpret it. And I look at this skewed, suspicious puddle, and I see aversion, as in the typical symbolism of this card being averted. So if the suspicious puddle is intended upright to represent uneasiness and a need to proceed with caution, I would say that skewed, it may represent more of a tension, certainly, that is there, but not a disruption. Let's look at the Page of Pentacles here. The Page of, and then we can come back to the suspicious puddle once we're tying all of these together. The Page of Pentacles, which is, I love the art on these Crow Tarot cards, by the way. So gorgeous. Page of Pentacles, yes. So, what she wants you to know, generically, when you see the Page of Pentacles, she is asking you to stop and take a breather and think about the future. Think about where you are going to go. She reminds you to take the time that you need to develop a plan for moving forward. And if you do so, your enthusiasm will carry you twofold through your next activities. So, overall, if you picked fluorite, I think it's safe to say that November will be a time for you to take a break. You've been working very hard. But in order to continue, says the Page of Pentacles, on this path, whatever it may be, on this path that you want to take, you need to calm down. And I don't intend for that to be rude. You need to rein yourself in. Think about the now. Stop worrying. And I know that's easier said than done. But stop worrying about what has held you back in the past. Or what has, even to a certain extent, what has pushed you forward in the past, because you need to think about what's going to push you forward in the future. And of course, let's not forget the suspicious puddle. Just because you're taking time for yourself does not mean that you can totally take it easy. Because of course, life always comes with responsibilities. Do not forget your responsibilities. Allow some tension to remain, but not in an unhealthy way. Let it be a positive stressor that keeps you in line and keeps you focused on the tasks that you still do need to achieve in November. Overall, recuperate. Recuperate, but don't slack off. That's it for the fluorite reading. I would greatly appreciate it if you don't want to watch the other ones, if you could skip ahead to the ending timestamp marked in the description below before you close out of this video. You absolutely don't have to, but I would appreciate it, as I have a couple of things that I will be saying at the end of the video. Thank you very much. Let's move on. Alright, next we have the blue Aventurine stack, stack 2. So, setting this aside, we have, again, 2 Tarot of Pagan Cats cards. First, the 4 of Pentacles. Second, the King of Pentacles. Third, we have from the Collected Memories deck, if I can pick it up, Garden Shears inverted. And then 2 cards from the Crow Tarot, the inverted Wheel of Fortune and the inverted Ace of Swords. So, starting in the order in which I flipped them over, let's take a look at our 4 of Pentacles. Four of Pentacles. I'm looking at this. The 4 of Pentacles would generally denote gathering power. And on its own, so far it is, at least. I haven't really looked at the rest of the cards. I'm not totally certain how that plays in. So, let's continue. Next is the King of Pentacles, upright as well. And he says, the King of Pentacles denotes someone with authority, somebody with decision-making power, somebody who handles resources and who is in control. Oftentimes in a business-like setting, typically involving materialistic things, not always. So we have gathering power of the 4 of Pentacles and being in charge of something materialistic with the King of Pentacles. Let's look at the Garden Shears from Collected Memories. The inverted Garden Shears. Decluttering. Decluttering would be upright. So, the obvious conclusion I feel to draw for the reversed Garden Shears would be amassment, or gathering of content, gathering of something. Collection, perhaps beyond what is necessary or good. All right. Wheel of Fortune. I'll look back at all of these cards once I've looked at all of them I will put them together more thoroughly. But the Wheel of Fortune would, the Wheel of Fortune is the circle of life. It is the inevitable shifts and changes that life brings. It is, along with the bad comes a serving of good, and vice versa. Typically upright, it will symbolize change for the good coming, and reversed, it will indicate difficulty coming. And the inversed Ace of Swords. Aces typically involve, how many times have I said the word typically in this video so far? But they typically involve creation. Some sort of creation or imaginative aspect. Energy, essentially. Raw energy. Which in particular corresponds to the Ace of Swords. It is the energy and strength required to carry you forward in your endeavors. It is thinking fast and solving problems, overcoming obstacles. It's passion. Reversed, it would suggest that maybe you're having trouble finding your passion. You've lost track of it. You're struggling. So, putting these all together, I don't want to make judgments about anything, but you may have a rough November coming. A loss of it, according to these cards, it looks to me like a loss of passion, not even necessarily permanent, as the Wheel of Fortune says, everything comes and goes, but a loss of passion and motivation will cause you to come across difficult times. How long these times will last is uncertain. As they say, how fast the Wheel of Fortune spins is up to you. But you will feel lost, and you won't know what to do with yourself. Cluttering, gathering, collection, amassment. Sometimes a coping mechanism for stress is to just gather and collect as much as you can, because the more you have power over. So if you asked me, which I believe you have since you clicked on this video, I would say it will be stressful. November will be stressful. And my advice to you, perhaps unsolicited, but given nonetheless, is to think over the coming month, to think to yourself, is this helping or hurting me? Is this actively doing good for me? Is it pushing me forward? Or is this something that is going to hold me back? Food for thought. Don't let yourself get carried away. It's easy to happen, especially when you're stressed. If you're an artist, if you have artist's block, writer's block, is musician's block a thing? Whatever it is, when you're struggling to do what makes you happy, that makes you vulnerable. So keep an eye out for yourself, and don't be afraid to recruit friends and family to help keep an eye on you, because there are a lot of people who care about you. Again, if you don't mind, I would greatly appreciate you, now that this stack reading is over, the blue Aventurine has been read, I would appreciate you going to the ending timestamp listed in the description below, just because I have a couple of things that I would like to say at the end of the video. Of course, you don't have to, there is no obligation, but I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. And last but never least, we have stack 3, Rose Quartz. Let's take a look. The Rose Quartz stack, setting this aside, has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards in it. 1 Tarot of Pagan Cats card, which is the inverse King of Chalices. I can read. The inverse King of Chalices. There. 1 Collected Memories card, which is the inverse Magnifying Glass. 2 Urban Divination deck cards, which are Skewed Forgotten Bra and come on, hands. Upright Acrobat. Finally, there is also a card from the Crow Tarot, which is Inverse Strength. Starting in the order that I flipped them from, so beginning with the inverse King of Chalices. What does he have to say to you? Well, he would upright, he would denote somebody with authority regarding emotional aspects. Maybe art as well. The definition of art, fun fact, being an expression or action intended to elicit emotion in another. So that applies to many number of things. Inverse, it could be somebody who is not very in touch with their emotions, or who is struggling emotionally, artistically, or struggling in a way involving a relationship. We'll come back to that once we've looked at all of the others. The Magnifying Glass from Collected Memories. As I was saying earlier, Collected Memories is a very personal deck to both the reader and the question asker, especially if those people are one and the same. So a large portion of interpretation of the Collected Memories deck is up to one's discretion. But the Magnifying Glass, as would seem obvious, at least in my opinion, symbolizes inspection. Reversed, it could be carelessness, metaphorical blindness, as in not seeing what has been laid out in front of you, missing clues or missing the obvious. Not looking carefully. Not looking before you leap, perhaps. Again, we'll come back to that once we're looking at all of them together. The Skewed Forgotten Bra from the Urban Divination deck. Upright would be, it involves romance, feelings of love, lust, and love unrequited. Skewed, I'm thinking about interpreting that. So it would take the subject of the upright card, the symbolism of the upright card, and it would avert it somehow into something similar yet different. So maybe not unrequited love on both sides, but being expressed poorly is my guess. Again, we'll come back to that. The acrobat, which is a cat in a window. And I zoned out. The acrobat is reckless confrontation, or immature confrontation. Maybe just making unwise, reckless decisions, or basing your decisions off of impulsive emotions rather than thinking them through, weighing pros and cons, that sort of thing. And to look at inverted strength, this is going to sound like Captain Obvious. Strength typically represents strength. Not necessarily, of course, physical strength, emotional, mental strength. It is mental and emotional strength, inner strength, personal strength, self-love, confidence, and trust in yourself and those around you. Reversed, however, strength wants you to know that you are not in control of your emotions. It's not calling you weak. It's not insulting you. But it says that your motives may not be based on a true inner strength. It could be something external, in other words, that is influencing you, which isn't always necessarily a bad thing, but it's a good time, according to this card, to stop and ask yourself, am I doing this because it's what I want to do? Or am I doing this because of something external that it will do for me? For example, am I doing this because I'm passionate about it, or am I doing it because I want other people to validate me? And of course, seeking validation is, as I said, not necessarily a bad thing. But true strength comes from self-love and self-acceptance and understanding that you are who you are, and just this is a hard subject for me to talk about. I don't want to go into too many details about myself when this is about you, but it's a bit hard for me to talk about inner strength as a person who struggles with depression and anxiety. But let's look at all of these cards together. Let's put them together. We have 4 cards involving off-kilter, shall we say, emotions. We have one card involving missing things, not coming to a conclusion that may be necessary for you to arrive at. Two cards that could involve romantic or strong platonic relationships. I would apply platonic more to the goodness gracious me. That is not the King of Chalices. That is the Knight of Chalices. Oh dear. Well, I can't read upside down. I suppose the next time I get a reverse card, I should flip it over to see what it actually says. I apologize. The Knight, not the King. The Knight upright would be someone who acts ideologically, somebody somebody with idealistic views about emotions and relationships. So, still involving relationships, either platonic or romantic, or professional, but more, not necessarily naivety, maybe something more along the lines of, well, yes, essentially idealism, of this is how it is supposed to be, this is how it is supposed to go, which is not necessarily naive, but still has great potential to be inaccurate and harmful. Reversed. This is a reversed card. Goodness, it's late. So the Knight of Chalices reversed, he would have something to say about cynicism, about a lack of idealism, because being too idealistic, as I said, is naive. And it can get you hurt. But without that, you can be cynical and bitter. So I would say that the Knight is telling you, the reversed Knight is telling you that you've got your emotional values regarding relationships, you've got them slightly twisted. So he wants you to take a moment for yourself and think about, I think I mentioned this earlier, is this something that is helping me, or is this something that is hurting me? And that is not the same question as, do I like this, or does this make me happy? Eating candy for dinner every day, I would like that, and it would make me happy, but it would not help me, it would hurt me. So, if you get a gut instinctual reaction to that question when you start thinking about it, of course listen to that, take it into account, but also debate with it for a while. What I'm seeing here overall is that you might be involved in a not fantastic relationship, where both parties feel something for the other, but the way they go about expressing those affections is not good. And I cannot tell you what to do in this situation, especially when I am simply reading the cards and I have no idea what your circumstances may be. But try and think a little less about earning things from others, a little less about throwing yourself recklessly into situations just to receive the rewards. And try thinking a little more critically. Look at the clues you have and the pieces you have been given, and see if this relationship is really good for your emotional well-being. I'm not saying it is one way or the other. I'm not saying it is good for you. I'm not saying it is bad for you, because I don't know. I'm not you, and I have no idea what you're going through, what you're struggling with, if you feel like you're struggling at all. But just think about it. Keep it in mind. Keep it in your thoughts this coming November. Keep an eye on yourself and your loved ones, and I don't mean that in an ominous way. I mean it in a compassionate way. I said this the last time with the blue Aventurine, but you have a lot of people who love you and care about you, so take care of yourself. Turn that inverted strength card, that reversed strength card, turn it upside down. Alright. Well,